Good afternoon, internets. My name is Catherine, and this is EVs of Nevada. I am on my way across town to see my bestie, and we're going to do some hanging outs today. But while I'm on my way there, I wanted to shoot a video for you guys because I got some mail from a viewer named Grant. So Grant writes to me, and the gist of his message is that he is currently driving, I believe, a 2008 Honda Accord with a 4-cylinder and is getting 20 to 23 miles a gallon, which is not super great, especially for something with a motor that small. He's unhappy with this, not only because the mileage is not awesome, but he currently delivers pizzas for a living, and when you're driving a lot, he's put over 50,000 miles on it since he's had the car. The car is up to 172,000 miles. That kind of mileage when you're driving that much, it really adds up. He's got to be putting gas in it every couple of days. And Grant asked me, what do you know about the Ford Fusion Hybrid, and do you think it's a good choice? Short answer, yes, it is a good choice. And if you have a chance to get one for within your budget, you absolutely should, because it's literally going to double your mileage. Because those get 40 to 43 miles a gallon. So that's 40 city and 43 highway. And those are some savings that are really going to add up for you. I would, however, ask yourself a couple of questions before you get the Ford Fusion Hybrid. Number one, do you want a sedan? Now, sedans are being phased out. Ford's not even going to be making them in a couple of years. They're only going to be making crossover SUVs and focusing on the Ford pickup truck line, which is, of course, their biggest earner, with the Ford F-150 being the best-selling vehicle in the world. Not the best-selling truck, the best-selling vehicle, folks. So Ford doesn't even need to mess around with sedans anymore, and there is talks of most other auto manufacturers phasing them out soon. Now, why is that? Why? Because you don't need a sedan anymore. Hatchbacks and crossover SUVs will get the job done in the same footprint for comparable mileage and comparable handling these days, and they give you more options on the inside for interior seating and the way that you configure your cargo space. Now, what I mean by that is I can put the seats down, those rear seats that you see behind me, they can go down, and that's all one big cargo space for me to fit all my camping gear, or for me to go to a craft fair with all of my bins of goodies, or for me to take a road trip, or whatever the case may be. If I need seating for passengers, seats pop back up, and I put the passengers' butts in the seats. Super easy. So if for some reason you still desire a sedan, if that's what you're comfortable with, and you want to have that segregated luggage compartment, absolutely go get the Ford Fusion Hybrid, but keep in mind that you're going to have less options than you would if you were to get a hatchback or a crossover. When I say crossover SUV, don't cringe, my electric car drivers. I'm not suggesting that everybody needs an SUV. They are using the term SUV very loosely these days. When they say crossover SUV, they pretty much mean a car that is shaped like an SUV. It doesn't usually have any of the suspension options that a traditional SUV would have. It's not like going to be like the Nissan Xterra with, the extra ground clearance and, all kinds of, directions of travel in the suspension. They're going to be stuff like what just went by, like the Mazda 3. Now, that's not a crossover SUV, that's a hatchback. And it's a really great car, so you could look into things like that. But the Ford Fusion Hybrid, if you have your heart set on hybrid, is certainly a good option to take. I would highly recommend that vehicle. I would also recommend looking into the Ford C-Max, I think it was. I test drove one. I wasn't a huge fan of the dash, but it was a hybrid, and it did get really great mileage, and people loved the interior cargo space for those. So if you're delivering a whole lot of pizzas, that'd be a really good one to have. Now, Grant and I already discussed the Prius. He has made it clear that his desire is not to have or drive or own a Prius for his own personal reasons, which I do respect. However, because I brought it up in my conversation with Grant, I want to discuss a little bit with you guys. I recommended the Prius, and the reason for that is that they have made so many of them for so long that you could pick a used one up for extremely cheap. And if you pick one up with a flat battery, do not freak out if you see one that has a bad battery that won't take a charge, because you can usually pick one of those cars up for like $500. Take it home, it's getting terrible mileage. The person who bought it is upset. They're extremely furious with it. They're not happy with that car anymore. And they're just ready to get rid of it. They're emotionally traumatized. You need to take that car and assuage their emotional trauma by taking the vehicle, and then you go online and you find yourself a replacement battery pack because you believe in yourself and you know that you can do the job yourself, because you can. It's easier than you think it is. You can order a replacement battery pack for these things for around $1,000 or $2. And when you pick the car up for next to nothing, that makes the total cost of the car less than $3,000, less than $4,000 for sure. You put a new battery pack in it, which will take you about 2 hours, and boom, you have a brand new car for all intents and purposes, because you have a brand new battery pack in it, and the thing's gonna run like a dream, and it'll run like a dream for a really long time, and you can pat yourself on the back. Congratulations, self. Oh yes, we are very, very clever and oh so handy, because you will have gotten yourself a really great running car for next to nothing that's going to be extremely efficient and serve you really well for a long time, and you will have kept another car out of a landfill, which is probably where it would have ended up anyway. Now, that having been said, on the subject of cars ending up in landfills, I'm going to go ahead and cancel my destination now. Let's see here, cancel guidance, yes. On the subject of cars ending up in landfills, this is EVs of Nevada, and that means electric vehicles of Nevada, and I believe in electric vehicles and hybrid vehicles. That having been said, there's also environmental concerns around driving an electric car. We drive electric cars not just because they're economical, but presumably most of us also care about the environment, at least a little bit. When you ditch your old car that's working perfectly fine for an EV, and that car just goes away, where it goes matters, and very often that car will end up in a landfill. Meanwhile, it took 1,000% more fossil fuels and carbon emissions to produce your electric car than it will ever save in its lifetime. In the period of time that you personally own it. The next owner might cancel it out. And additionally to that, you're going to have a problem where the other car wasn't really, even if it was something efficient like, an old Nissan Sentra or something, actually it's better for the environment to keep driving those things until you absolutely can't than it is to go out and buy a brand new electric car, just so you guys know. Now, I hate to say that because I want everybody to drive electric cars, but it is true. So really look into those used cars and look into older ICE cars. Now, that having been said, we have a utility vehicle in the house, a Hyundai Accent, and that thing is used, and it's a I believe 2006, between 2004 and 2006, Hyundai Accent, hatchback, manual, okay? So it's a little manual with a 5-speed, and we can go a month and a half without putting any fuel in it whatsoever, because that's how, like, if you drive a manual with respect to what the car is and what it can do and what it actually needs, and you treat that transmission nicely, it'll actually, that car, that Hyundai Accent, that old ass Hyundai Accent gets better mileage on gas only than the Volt. So when the Volt is on gas only and it's just driving, it gets right around like 36, 38 when there's no battery involved. Like on my trip to Reno, I was kind of disappointed really with how it did. It didn't really outperform a lot of modern ICE cars. I was not especially dazzled by it for that reason. But the Hyundai will actually get better mileage than that. So keep an open mind when you're looking for things like that. Also keep in mind actual cost of ownership. Cost of ownership is a lot more than just what it costs to insure it and keep fuel in it. Keep in mind repair costs. When you're looking for a new vehicle grant, keep in mind repair costs, and not just like big ticket items like transmissions and things like that, although make sure you have somebody in your town that can do jobs like that, or else you're going to end up throwing away a car just because you didn't have access to a good mechanic. Keep in mind things like the cost of the tires. This is not something that people think about very often when it comes to hybrid and electric vehicles. These cars are heavy. They're super heavy, and when you have a bunch of extra weight on a vehicle, tires become a very important concern. The tires on the Hyundai, if we have to replace one of them, we can literally pick them up at one of the Yanteras around town for less than $20. That's right. We could put all new tires on it, all four, all the way around for 50 bones if we're careful about where we buy them, and it'd be perfectly fine. They don't even have to be matching name brand. It doesn't matter with a car like that. It doesn't weigh anything, and the tire size is the most common tire size ever. It's the same tire size on most trailers. They're basically trailer wheels. But on the Volt, I need to keep in mind that my tires are a good deal more expensive because they are hybrid specific. And I know what you're thinking, Catherine, do I really need to buy the hybrid specific tires, or can I just put regular? No, stop it! You put hybrid tires on your hybrid car because of safety. And I'm gonna tell you a little bit about this. Your car is heavy. Whenever you turn it, there's roll in your sidewall. Your sidewall folds up a little bit and makes contact with the road beneath it, and that's part of what helps you turn and handle. If you the hybrid tires are stiffer, they are fortified, they are engineered and constructed in such a way that it's made to compensate for that extra weight, so your sidewall doesn't just fold up and put your rim on the ground and put you in a situation that could be dangerous to you. So put hybrid tires on it. They are more expensive, and not all places have them depending on where you live. If you live in a smaller town, you might have to wait for them to come on order. So you need to keep up on your vehicle maintenance. So those are the things that I would suggest. Look into those cars. Grant, I absolutely respect that the Toyota Prius does not fit your aesthetic choices for a vehicle, and that it doesn't speak to your spirit. I get that. The Prius didn't speak to my spirit either. In all fairness, the day I went shopping, they did not have one on the lot. And who knows, if I had driven one, I might have fallen in love with it. But honestly, next to the Chevy Volt Premium, not so much. But for those of you out there looking for a cheap and efficient car, they've been making the Prius for so long that you can pick them up in decent condition for not a lot of money, and all of a sudden you are the proud owner of a hybrid vehicle, and your options open up for road trips and things because you're saving so much money in fuel all the time. They're also pretty cheap to insure. So all of that having been said, I hope that answered your questions. Grant, thank you so much for sending me that email. I love when people send me emails. I read all the emails, and so if there's anything that you'd like to see covered on the show, please email me. I'll go ahead and put my email in the description down below. And that's going to do it for me today, guys. My name is Catherine. This is EVs of Nevada. If this is your first time on the channel, please remember to subscribe right over here. Here's some other things I think you'll enjoy right down here. Remember to like, subscribe, and smile.